Welcome, Super Elite Warriors, to Final Forum, a podcast for the discussion of all things Dragon Ball. I am your host, Jelli, an elite recruiting member of the Frieza Force on a mission to find the best warriors from across the galaxy to join the greatest army of all time. And I am joined, as always, by my recruit co-host, Welcome, Super Elite Warriors, to Final Forum, a podcast for the discussion of all things Dragon Ball. I am your host, Jelli, an elite recruiting member of the Frieza Force on a mission to find the best warriors from across the galaxy to join the greatest army of all time. And I am joined, as always, by my new recruit co-host.
This is the Bekinney. Join us as we uncover the cultural inspirations and hidden history behind Akira Toriyama's seminal franchise.
And we're recording this episode coming to you today immediately upon the completion of our previous Tenkaichi tournament, where Mr. Satan won a battle of top chefiness.
Weird that you need to specify that where we just finished our other bracket.
Why wouldn't I specify such a thing?
Why? I mean, just it seems a little weird, but okay, I
guess.
I'm
definitely not banking episodes so that we can have stuff to release in case we get into some huge battle against a living planet that sees one or both of us presumed dead in the aftermath of a fight for our lives and a giant explosion, if that's what you're implying.
Wow, some forethought. That's surprising.
I said that's not what I'm doing.
Sure.
So yes, this is our annual Tenkaichi tournament, which we do in March every year. We take advantage of the Earth tradition of March Madness, and we pit the characters of Dragon Ball. We kind of randomly picked 64 of them, split them into 4 brackets that make sense, I think. And we pit them against each other, not in tournaments of fighting prowess, because we generally feel like if we did that every year, you'd come up with the same results, more or less. Maybe you'd have a character who gets a new form every once in a while, go a little further or something the next year, but it'd be the same. It'd be the same discussions all the time. Mm-hmm. That's boring.
Agreed.
What's exciting is, what if we had these characters face off in different sorts of competitions? That definitely is not so that we could be lazy and keep the bracket the same every year.
No, absolutely. No, it's a completely different bracket. I have it saved in my computer as a totally different file name this time around. It's completely different.
So, if this is your first time listening to us, and you like this episode, go back and check out our other ones. I'll let you know what they were really quickly as sort of a primer. Our first year, we played into the basketball of it all. We said, what would happen if these characters faced each other in a one-on-one game of basketball? And the tiebreaker, so the way we do this, the way we will do this again, is I pick a matchup, Bekinney picks a matchup, we go back and forth. You decide who you think would win, who you want to win, and if you think those are two different things, if you say, boy, I think that Nail would win this battle, but I really would prefer if Elder Kai would, because Nail is a little bit of a boring character to me. I'm just random. I just picked a random.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
set of
I'm
names.
sure there's all of like 2 people that listen to this that Nail is their favorite character. I think you're safe.
Yeah. And if I said those two, and that's so I got one for who I think would and one for who I want to, we do a tiebreaker. First year was basketball. The tiebreaker was just purely who's taller. That took a lot of object or subjectivity out of it.
Sure.
The second year we did who would win in a one-on-one Pro Rules Halo match, and the tiebreaker was something along the lines of like who would have the best setup and know how to use it.
Yeah.
Who's paying for the best internet, who has the best controllers and graphics processing equipment, but also not just has all that, but would know how to use it correctly. And that was for a potential eventuality that like Vegeta fought Bulma, for instance. They both have equal access to technology. One of them knows how to use it a little better.
True.
The third year, we did Top Chef. Who would win more like Iron Chef.
Yeah.
More of an Iron Chef battle. And we just went with who we thought had a better tasting palate. Like who could discern tastes more readily.
Yeah.
And our previous winners are Future Trunks for basketball, Emperor Pilaf for Halo, and Mr. Satan for Iron Chef. Right? We had Mr. Satan win, right?
I like all 3 of these champions, but the Pilaf one really tickles me.
Right? We had Mr. Satan, right?
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah.
We remember so well for something we recorded 15 minutes ago.
Right? Because that's totally what happened.
It's just, this has been such a long marathon recording session. I no longer remember what happened.
Well, I mean, you got
ago.
all these countless hours floating through space waiting to get through to a new destination. You got to do something to kill your time, right?
Right. So this year, Final Forum brings to you our Tenkaichi tournament. And remember, Tenkaichi means greatest under the heavens. So this is just our greatest under the heavens, and we pick a different theme every year. Who would win in a trivia battle? And the way this trivia battle's rules would go would be similar to like Ben Stein's Money, if you remember that show.
Vaguely.
If you don't, the way the finale of that show went, because you were facing off against Ben Stein to win Ben Stein's money, was you and he would get the same set of questions. You would pick whether you wanted to go first or you wanted him to go first, and you'd get asked the same set of questions. I don't remember how much time they put on the clock, but they would put however much time on the clock, and if you didn't get all, I think it was like 15 or 20 questions answered in that time, it was how many more questions, like could the other person answer one more question than that. If you did answer all the questions, it was stop the clock. Now the other person has that much time.
It's a good format, honestly. I really enjoyed that show.
So that's the general format of this, is an even trivia match.
Sure, that makes sense.
And I think that's important to emphasize, because it means that, you know, it's not just like a game of Jeopardy where we could sit here and say, well, if the categories went right, because I watch Jeopardy often, and there's been times where I've watched an episode and been like, oh man, if I was on today, I would have walked away with like $65,000. And then there's times where I go, oh man, if I was on there today, I wouldn't have buzzed in once.
Yeah, no kidding. Quick question though, kind of a point of clarification, really. So what's the breadth of topics that you are putting in this trivia game? Is it just Earth-based topics, or is it entire universe topics?
I would say it's like things. It's a hodgepodge of things you would expect, say, only Earthlings to know based on the Dragon Ball universe, things you would expect only deities to know based on the Dragon Ball universe, things you would expect only villains or only aliens or right. So
I see.
the more versed a character is in everything that has ever happened and all of the world building and all of the everything of Dragon Ball, the better off they would be. So to my mind, then someone similar to like maybe 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 Shin, the Supreme Kai, would potentially be like very formidable.
I get you. Because he has experience with so much of Dragon Ball lore.
Right.
And he's a reasonably perceptive person.
Right. He would probably struggle if there was like a general sports category.
True.
Or a like human entertainment category. He'd probably struggle with like, colloquialisms, things like that,
sure.
Right?
Yeah. And that's why I was asking, because I could see that blind spot being an issue for him.
Right. Now, flip side, take a character like just, I don't know. We've argued in the past that Krillin is not a dummy, I think.
Right.
And he understands a lot of colloquialisms and things of Earth. Yamcha might be a good example too. Yamcha like has an apartment and has a job. I mean, it's a baseball player, but it's still a job, and lives on Earth. But Yamcha has literally never been to space.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of the breadth of what you might expect a Dragon Ball character to know.
Got it.
Now, for our tiebreaker, this was a difficult one to try and land on something, because really the who you think would win sort of thing is who you think is smarter, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
So it's hard to come up with something super, super objective unto itself. However, what we've landed on is that I will go back and look up a Final Jeopardy category. And if you're familiar with if you're familiar with Jeopardy, that's a show where they ask a category and then they give you questions based on the category. And Final Jeopardy categories can be anything from, I'm just looking at some here, the Oscars, famous names, fictional characters, royalty, presidents, actors, energy. It could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
It could be music, the planets. I won't give the final clue because I think that ends up making it very often too Earth specific.
Fair.
But based on that category only, it is up to whoever's deciding the match to decide, who would win if that was the category, and they had to do like a lightning round or a like first person to buzz in with the correct answer wins.
Okay, so it's a Final Jeopardy category, but it's still based on like the Dragon Ball world, correct? So like when you say the Oscars, it would be the Oscars in Dragon Ball, or like if it was the planets, it would be the planets in Dragon Ball, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. I'm locked in.
And I'll then try and skip ones that are like United States presidents, right?
Yeah. It's not.
If
it's not the U.S. in Dragon Ball. It's the land of corn.
If it just says world presidents, I might leave that in because dog president
is the best president, really.
Please, dog president, come.
He did the thing that everybody wants to do, which is to have the government do nothing, apparently. And
look at how prosperous the dragon world is. But
yeah, it's doing all right.
We digress. I could talk for hours about how much I would prefer dog president over
any president, really.
Yes. But We're not here for that. We are
No,
here.
we're here for trivia games.
Yes. So, if I recall correctly, and maybe I don't,
Oh,
but
you've
I
got a
think I
pretty good
do.
track record.
If I recall correctly, the very first time we ever did this, you picked the first matchup.
Yes, I did.
Then the second time I picked the first matchup. Then the third time you picked the first matchup. So this time it's back to me
Sounds right.
to pick the first matchup. And we'll do what we usually do, and we'll start in the Saiyans bracket. And these are 16 Saiyans that have all featured at various points in the Dragon Ball franchise. And we ranked them by rough estimates of popularity, whether that was going to like a ranker site, or what are they, Rankter, I think is the name of the site,
Yeah.
and looking at actual popularity lists of Dragon Ball characters, or just various polls on Twitter and such, whatever. A rough estimate of character popularity only. So our first matchup, and if we come across a character that we think maybe a new listener to this show wouldn't know, we'll explain it a little, who that character is. But we have number 1 seed Goku versus number 16 Tarble. Everyone should know Goku. Tarble is Vegeta's brother, who appears in the OVA, I think it was, or special, which is like Son Goku and his friends return, which was like sort of an anniversary type of special thing. And he's also mentioned very, very briefly in, is it the Broly movie?
I think so, yeah.
Where they say like, oh, Vegeta, your brother also didn't die in the explosion. And he's like, I don't care.
Really family-oriented guy, that Vegeta.
Yes. So, Goku versus Tarble. I would want Goku to win. I would want Goku to win, because I think I like Goku better as a character, and B, because I think it'd be hilarious if Goku won a trivia thing.
Just completely by luck, I guess.
Well, like all the questions would be about like fighting.
They're weirdly all questions about the previous Budokai Tenkaichis.
It's like Slumdog Millionaire. But the reality is I think Tarble would win. So I have to go to our tiebreaker right off the bat. And now let me tell you that I'm starting our tiebreakers. I found a website that tells me the final Jeopardy category for every single episode of Jeopardy. And I am starting with the February 26th, 1986 episode of Jeopardy. And the reason I'm starting with that is the air date of Dragon Ball.
It's got to be thematic, at least, right?
Yeah. So, the final Jeopardy category is television.
Ooh.
Now, that's interesting because...
neither of these people have probably watched television.
Right. So, here's how I'll do my tiebreaker in that case. Television. I would think they would ask a question. Nobody would answer it. They'd ask like another question. Nobody would answer it. And they would start just going down the list of questions about television until they got to one that was like about how a television works and the mechanics and mechanisms of a television, in which case Tarble would know the answer. Therefore, I say Tarble defeats Goku, stunning upset. A 16 seed wins.
Off to a strong start on this bracket. Let's see. So we've got number 8, Kale, versus number 9, Nappa. Oh, let's see. Who do I want to win this? I kind of want Nappa to win this because I think it would be funny. Who do I think would actually win this? I think Kale wins in a squeaker. And my rationale for that is that, like, Nappa gets easily frustrated when he's not performing well. So really all it takes is him to trip up on the first question. He's probably going to be useless for the rest of that competition. Mm-hmm. Probably end up blowing up the booth and the host and the audience and the whole studio. So that's going to bring us to the tiebreaker, which I think is deserved in this case. What do we got?
World Trade.
World Trade? Oh, boy. Yeah, this might be a problem for these two until we get to like the actual mechanics of like trading a good for money, which I know at least Nappa's familiar with because he sells planets. So I guess Nappa wins this.
Hmm.
Although I guess the same would be for Kale. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to go the other way on that one. I think it's actually going to be Kale.
Okay. So Kale moves on to the second round. Oh, by the way, I found the answers for the questions. So just for fun, I'm going to read the questions that they actually were.
Yeah.
The television question was in the fall of 1985. 5 of 8 primetime network series on Mondays had this word in their title. Question to that answer is, what is and? And the world trade question was, in value of both its imports and exports with the U.S., this country is our foremost trading partner. The answer, or question, what is Canada? Now, granted, that may have changed in the past 40 years since that was the final Jeopardy question, but
Possibly.
that was the correct answer, February 27th, 1986, just so you know. Okay, so that brings us to our third matchup, which is number 5, Future Trunks, versus number 12, Kid Trunks. The distinction there being Future Trunks is the one from the future that gets ruined by Cell, and then later more ruined by Zamasu. And Kid Trunks has had a very good life. So, who do I want to win? Future Trunks. Kid Trunks irritates me a little bit. I think that's the point.
Yeah, probably.
Who do I think would win? This is a little bit tougher than you would think because Kid Trunks has had more opportunities to learn about more things other than like just how to survive.
Well, the other thing that's interesting about this is Future Trunks is from the future. So, like, the whole context for asking him questions is different because you could be asking about current events, and for him, technically that would be history, but it never happened in his timeline, so how would he even know?
Correct. So it's tough. However, I still think Future Trunks is more experienced. He's more knowledgeable in general. He's hung out in our timeline enough. I mean, really, enough. He spent a whole bunch of time in the hyperbolic time chamber. So I'm going to argue that Future Trunks also would win.
Okay.
So I'm moving Future Trunks on to the second round without going to the tiebreaker.
All right. Up next, we got number 4, Broly, and number 13, Goten. Yeah, so I kind of want Goten to win this, mostly because, as far as I know, current Broly is completely nonverbal. So I don't know how he would even answer a question. So I guess that also means that Goten would actually just win this outright. So yeah, I guess Goten's moving on.
Okay. Broly's not nonverbal, but
Well,
wildly sheltered.
yeah,
for sure.
well, he's homeschooled, but not in the good way.
What you're saying is that Broly does not think he needs any vaccinations.
Yeah, which is pretty surprising considering the fact that his father is supposed to be a scientist. So somebody really dropped the ball in educating his kid.
I have number 6, Cabba, versus number 11, Bardock. Who do I want to win? I think unto themselves, I like Bardock just a smidge more. I like Cabba a lot for what he brings to... Now, Cabba, for those who don't know, is a Saiyan from the 6th universe who ends up kind of becoming like Vegeta's mentee. And I like that dynamic, but as a character unto himself, I like Bardock more, Bardock being the father of Goku. I like this guy who... And I prefer the older incarnation, this guy who was like kind of a bad dude, but ended up realizing that there were like some lines you shouldn't cross.
Yeah, like, genocide.
Yeah. So I want Bardock to win. And who do I think would win? I think Bardock again. He has traveled the universe as a warrior, but he's traveled the universe. And every time Cabba interacts with Vegeta, he's like kind of painted as being fairly naive.
Also, he can see the future, so
I'm going
maybe
with
he knew what the questions were ahead of time.
Bardock.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going with Bardock to win outright and move him on to the second round.
Solid choice. Things going according to plan. I mean, damn, you ruined my bracket. So up next, we got number 3, Gohan, and number 14, King Vegeta. Yeah, I think this one's kind of a pretty one-sided. Gohan, literally a scholar. King Vegeta, probably not so much, would be my guess. Also, we don't really know much of anything about King Vegeta. I think he only is in like one scene in the entire IP. I mean, Gohan, I like Gohan. So I think I want Gohan to win. I also think that he's going to win. I don't see how he doesn't in this instance.
Yeah, makes sense. Moving on, I have number 7 Caulifla versus number 10 Raditz. Caulifla being another Saiyan from Universe 6, who is she the first female Super Saiyan that we see in all of Dragon Ball, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And she fights on the Universe 6 team in the Tournament of Power during Dragon Ball Super. She is a good strategist, and she's kind of, to my memory, now it's been a very long time since I've like revisited Super at all. To my memory, she's kind of painted as like almost Jabba the Hutt-esque, where she like has like a bunch of people that kind of follow her. She has kind of a cabal or a gang, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So, who do I want to win? I think Raditz.
It's the hair,
A
isn't
little
it?
bit. Yeah, it's the hair. Who do I think would win? I think Caulifla would win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a more, again, Raditz he's low level Saiyan. I just think Caulifla would win. So that brings me to my tiebreaker, and I had to skip one because the category was famous Americans. And so the next one is pop music. And you could argue successfully that Caulifla would not know any pop music because she's from a different universe. However, I could very easily argue that Raditz has never listened to music in his life.
But he does know the days of the week, at least 2 of them, I think.
So I think I'm going to go with Caulifla on this and say that eventually there'd be a question in there that she just would. The Saiyans of Universe 6 are more cultured and less purely warrior based. And so I'm going to say eventually there's going to be a question in there that she'll be able to snag onto.
Mm-hmm.
Just for prosperity, again, the Final Jeopardy category question in this was, since 1955, this song, originally known as Morital, has made Billboard Top 40 more times than any other. And the song was What Is Mac the Knife? I've never heard of that song before.
I haven't either. There's got to be at least one person listening going, what? All right.
So I moved Caulifla on to the next round.
Good choice. Good choice. Next up, this is our last matchup for the Saiyans. We have number 2 seed Vegeta versus number 15 seed Paragus. Oh, this one's kind of a tough one for me.
Paragus being Broly's dad for the...
Yes, Paragus being Broly's dad, the one I mentioned earlier, who was also a scientist. So, Oh man, who do I want to win? I want Vegeta to win, just because I don't like Paragus. He's a bit of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
Who do I think would win? I think actually Paragus probably would win, just in general because of his education.
Okay.
But then again, I don't really know exactly what qualifies as a scientist on planet Vegeta, so it could just be somebody who specializes in studying fighting. I don't know. So I guess that's going to bring us to the tiebreaker. What do we have for a genre
I
here?
think this is a very interesting one. Art.
Art? Oh, buddy. I think Vegeta has the edge on this one because he's married to Bulma, who is fairly connected to some pop culture stuff, at least enough to keep herself looking good, and I'm sure probably decorate her house really nicely with art. So I'm going to give this one to Vegeta.
Okay. That's not like a bracket buster for me. But I did have Paragus winning a couple times actually.
Oh, interesting.
Just because like when so I'll say we each fill out brackets. When I fill them out, I give very little thought, like as little as I possibly can, because I don't want to. I want to leave myself open to be able to even talk myself out of the things that I've picked.
Sure.
So I'm just trying to go like straight down. I just kind of went, who do I think is smarter? Who do I think is smarter? Who do I think is smarter? And that was the Paragus is a scientist. Now the final Jeopardy category that day, or question that day rather. Oh, and I had to skip one because it was Democrats. But the final Jeopardy answer that day was the two geometric shapes containing Da Vinci's famous Vitruvian Man.
Yeah, I think that's a ringer for Vegeta.
The question being, what is square and circle? Yes, that brings us out of our Saiyan bracket and into humans.
Yeah, we can do humans if you want.
Do we usually do like then you pick the first one?
I believe that is how we usually do it, yes.
Yes, okay.
So, human bracket. We got number 1 seed Krillin versus number 16 seed Yajirobe. Hopefully, I don't need to explain who those two people are. If I do, Krillin is Goku's childhood best friend, and Yajirobe is the homeless samurai that Goku met out adventuring.
Yeah.
Who do I want to win? I want Krillin to win, just because it's Krillin. Also, Yajirobe doesn't strike me as like an exceptionally learned person, and we know that Krillin's at least studied under Master Roshi
Mm-hmm.
to get some kind of education, even though it's implied that he, had some before that, and he's also like a little bit more worldly. So I think that's also good grounds to pick Krillin as well for the person who is likely to win this.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have, despite being a number 8 seed, I think a heavy favorite. Number 8 Bulma versus number 9 Chaozu.
The guy that can't even count?
Yeah. Who do I want to win? Bulma. Who do I think would win? Bulma. Bulma moves on. That's a quickie.
Yeah, this is the blowout in this bracket. All right, next up we've got number 5 Android 17 and number 12 Ox King. Android 17 being one of the androids that Dr. Gero made and is being pursued by Cell for perfection, and then Ox King, one of Master Roshi's former students and Goku's father-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, oh man, I feel bad for the Ox King because he's basically going up against a computer brain.
Yeah.
Which means no bueno for him. I also kind of want Android 17 to win because I just kind of like him in general better than Ox King. And this is just not Ox King's thing, man. I feel bad for him because he usually gets taken out first round, but I don't see a way for him to win here.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll move Android 17 on to the next round. Then I have number 4 Android 18 versus number 13 Mr. Satan. Now, knee-jerk reaction would tell you that Android 18 wins.
Sure.
Like you said, living computer. However, which one of the two has actually experienced more of the dragon world?
That's a good point.
One of these two characters has, despite for a very long time believing it was fake, actually witnessed Cell and his battles, actually witnessed Majin Buu and some of the things that he could do, actually been to the Supreme Kai planet. Later on, he now, like in Super and where the story stands now, acknowledges that all of these things are real and actually happened.
What? Growth?
So I think you could make an argument that Mr. Satan would win. That his knowledge base. Now, granted, 18 is a living computer, but what's her base of knowledge is really how to defeat Goku and the Z Warriors and not a whole lot else.
That's a good point.
So I'm going to make the argument. I'm talking myself out of my own pick, by the way. But I'm making the argument that I think Mr. Satan would win, and I want him to win.
Oh, my. Okay. I'll take it.
I also think Android 18 shows up to him beforehand. We've made this joke, I think, every year. But I think Android 18 might show up to him and be like, "Listen, I'll take a dive if you give me the money."
I mean, it's probably keeping her and Krillin pretty comfy, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
At this point, because I think how many times has she taken a dive now?
All but the cooking time.
All right. Next up, we've got number 6 Yamcha versus number 11 Chi-Chi. I might be doing myself some talking out of my initial choice on this one. I kind of wanted Chi-Chi to win.
Okay.
So I will say I want Chi-Chi to win. And mostly that's because, like, I know that she knows how valuable education is based on how much she's pushed Gohan to be a scholar. However, I think the argument could be made that Yamcha has experienced more of
very much so
the world, if you will, than Chi-Chi has. As a matter of fact, he even like played her for a rube when they were younger back in Dragon Ball. So I think this is going to have to come down to a tiebreaker.
Okay. I have to skip American statistics.
Good, because nobody likes that.
And go on to world leaders.
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to say because she's a bit of a backwater hick, no offense, I think Yamcha squeaks out the win on this one when it comes to world leaders.
I would agree.
I mean, he's at least seen President Dog on TV, I'm sure.
So then since we went to the tiebreaker, I'll just do the answer and question. This elected official also served until 1870 as king of most of central Italy. Who is the Pope?
Yeah, that tracks.
Moving along, I have number 3 Tien versus number 14 Nam. I think Tien would win. Ultimately, I think he's experienced more of the world. Nam didn't even know water was free.
To be fair, there are a lot of people like that.
Sure.
But you're right, that doesn't help them win trivia games.
Exactly. I think I want Tien also. So we'll move Tien on to the second round.
Okay. Short and sweet. I like it. Next up, we have 7th seed Android 16 and 10th seed Videl. Android 16 being another one of those pesky Dr. Gero androids with the flaming red mohawk. And Videl is Mr. Satan's daughter and also Gohan's wife. Yeah, I got to be honest. I think 16 just sweeps this one.
Really?
Computer brain, for one. And I think you could make an argument for Videl knowing a bunch of stuff just from being in close proximity to Gohan, as well as like
Mm,
all of the other Z warriors and like all of the things that her dad's exposed to.
right.
But she never comes across as like a bookish type, if you know what I mean.
She was in school.
Well, I mean, most people have gone through school, but you know,
Well, eh,
and it for me, it's the computer brain thing. I feel like even if there's something they don't know, I almost guarantee Giro put in some way for them to connect to the internet to be able to Google things.
hmm. See, I didn't consider that. I again, I had Videl winning, and I had it mostly because of Android 16 of the three androids is the one that is most the stuck in my mind as he is programmed to fight Goku. That is all he knows. That is all he cares about.
But he still managed to find a way around his programming to help Gohan and save the world.
And he also likes birds.
And he also likes birds, which just for funsies, let's see if birds comes up as the tiebreaker, even though I don't need the tiebreaker, just to help seal the deal.
It would not be birds.
Damn, what would it be?
Languages.
Oh, he might still win there too.
I would think so.
16, moving on.
Okay. I then have Master Roshi versus Launch. Who do I want to win? I kind of want Launch. I'd like to see Launch get a little rub,
A little recognition.
a little shine. Yeah.
Yeah.
After having to put up with Master Roshi. And then who do I think would win? Same thing. I think Roshi's going to be distracted.
That's possible.
I think Launch also, I know Roshi has experienced a good deal of the Dragon world, but Launch is very worldly, and Roshi's experience kind of ends for the most part on planet Earth.
I think I can see what happens. I think it's blue-haired Launch starts the competition. It looks like Roshi's winning. Launch sneezes, shoots at Roshi. Roshi concedes.
So I'll move Launch on to the second round. Now we'll go up to the villains/antagonists bracket.
Yep, your first pick this time.
Yes, with the very confusing entry, especially as the number one seed. Although I guess number one, maybe that's why he's in here at number one, is because he had to be a one seed somewhere, and he doesn't fit in anywhere else. Is our Lord Frieza versus number 16, Mercenary Tao. Mercenary Tao being the assassin who does the greatest thing in Dragon Ball history with riding the column.
Indeed.
Who do I want to win? Frieza. Who do I think would win? Also Frieza. I think he is shrewd and intelligent, and that's a big part of why he to drop the shtick. I do think it's a big part of why he hates Goku so very much.
Yeah.
Because Goku's a moron, and he's pretty smart, and he really doesn't like that someone that stupid is able to rival him physically. So I'll move Frieza on to the second round.
Makes perfect sense. All right. Next up, we've got number 8, Hit, the Hitman from Dragon Ball Super. And number 9, Rikum, the big burly fella who ends up missing a bunch of teeth in the Ginyu Force. Okay. Who do I want to win this? I mean, that's kind of a toss-up for me. I think I want to say Hit win. I want to say that I want Hit to win this, mostly
Okay.
just because I know Rikum's going to be dumb as a doorknob.
Okay.
Who would actually win this? I think it's a little closer than I would like. I think it's possible for Rikum to sneak out a little bit of a win. Just because of being in the afterlife, being all throughout space, even though as a warrior and someone who doesn't seem all that bright, just his level of experience I think is pretty high. So I think there's a decent chance that he might actually know a thing or two that Hit doesn't know.
Really?
it's slim, and that's why I kind of did it this way because I do want to kind of go to the tiebreaker and see what the tiebreaker is going to be.
It is movies.
Ooh, hmm, hmm. I'm going to say that Hit wins that one.
Really?
Mostly just because I.
Let me give you a scenario.
Sure, go for it. Pitch me.
Hit gets asked a question in this lightning round.
Okay.
Okay? Because that's where this has gone to a lightning round.
Yeah.
He doesn't know the answer, but he knows he has to buzz in.
Okay.
Hits the time freeze that he can do.
Got it.
Sprints to a computer, looks up the answer,
Okay.
comes back and buzzes in
One
before
small problem with that.
before Raccoon can even depress the button.
One small problem with that, but then I'll amend it and make it work. I don't know how the time stop power works with computers, but my assumption is that if you stop time, you can't look anything up because nothing would process.
Okay, but he could just do a library then.
That's fine. But my caveat was going to be he stops time, hits Raccoon's buzzer, throws Raccoon off with a surprise buzz in, and he flubs the question. In case you folks can't understand, we're just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. No, that's I think in all seriousness, I think Hit is more the type of person who might enjoy a movie,
Okay.
and that's where my rationale is coming from.
This Final Jeopardy answer was 1951 Best Acting Oscars went to Humphrey Bogart and Lee, V. Lee, I don't know, Vicky Lee or something, I'm not sure. Vanessa Lee, maybe. In films named for these modes of transportation, the question being, what is a streetcar and a steamship? Okay, that brings me to number 5, Zamasu versus number 12, King Cold. Zamasu being the, I think we've landed on this is the fused version. It is the fused version of Goku Black and a character named Zamasu, who is like essentially an evil Kai.
Okay.
It's a Kai of another universe that meets Goku, who gets really mad that Goku has like the audacity to want to spar with him and thinks that all mortals should therefore be eliminated. And King Cold, of course, being Frieza's father. Now, who do I want to win? Zamasu, because I too believe all mortals should be destroyed.
Well,
who do I think? Who do I think would win? I'm also gonna still go with Zamasu in this. I think, having been trained as a Kai, he has observed many things. I know it was in a different universe, but he's observed a lot of things. He is a calculating person, a very planning person, and being a fused character, he's got two minds working at the same time.
Even though one of them is probably completely useless in this context.
Well, you add like a turbo to a Ferrari. It's
gonna go faster.
Yeah. Apologies if that car reference was completely inaccurate.
We're not car people. We live in space. No, I'd agree with that, mostly just because for me, when I see King Cold's character, this is somebody who's been like all over the universe conquering, and like he has his own son tell him like, hey, there's this planet full of powerful fighters that we need to go take care of, and he almost like doesn't believe him, or is like surprised that by this new information, as opposed to like taking it in and like, you know what I'm saying? Like he didn't really think through things when it came to Earth.
So we'll move Zamasu on to the second round.
All right. Next up, we have number 4, Cooler, and number 13, Pilaf. Cooler being Frieza's brother, and Pilaf being, well, the first villain of Dragon Ball, right?
Yeah.
My question for this one is, what version of Cooler are we talking about here?
I usually think of the first movie appearance
Okay. I,
because
I, I would agree with that because in my opinion, the big Getty Star version of Cooler isn't actually Cooler. Like it looks like
yes.
him, but I don't think it's actually him. In that case, I think it's probably a little closer than Pilaf would like, but I think Pilaf wins this one. As for who I want to win it, I love Pilaf, man. He's like my favorite. I
Yeah.
want Pilaf to win. So we're gonna move Pilaf on.
Okay. I have number 6, Captain Ginyu, versus number 11, Dabra, or Deborah, depending on, whether you're a dub or sub person.
Hmm.
And, okay, I want Ginyu to win. I love the Ginyu Force. I love the shtick. I love the whole thing. The being what the Ginyu Force is. Captain Ginyu is the Ginyu Force's leader, and what the Ginyu Force is all these really really strong fighters who are complete goofballs. And then Dabra is the king of the demon world that works for Babidi to help release Majin Buu. I think Ginyu also would win. I think he's more traveled. I think he's more experienced in every single realm that's not the demon realm, which, I don't know, maybe there's one question on that, but okay, so Dabra can answer one, maybe two questions that Ginyu can't, and Ginyu can answer like the rest. So I think Ginyu wins. I don't even think he has to do the body swap thing.
But I mean, there's always that ace in his back pocket.
Correct.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I like it. All right, next up, we've got number 3, Majin Buu, and number 14, Android 19, is it? Yeah,
Yeah,
19.
19. This is always a funny matchup to me because it's like almost the same character.
Yeah, I think do they have the same voice actor? I'm not even sure.
Without looking, I want to say yes.
I know they sound very similar.
Right.
At least in the English dub. I want Majin Buu to win this, and I'm assuming the big chubby Majin Buu, right? Or are we talking like a different
Yeah,
version?
yeah. I usually think of the big chubby one.
Okay. Yeah, so in that case, definitely doesn't have a lot of knowledge to pull from as far as trivia goes. Unless it's food, I guess, maybe. And then Android 19 is out of all of the androids, I think probably the most computer, at
Yes.
least how he's characterized, which definitely means he's probably got a wide range of information to pull from. So yeah, I guess we're gonna have to go to the tiebreaker.
So your category is sporting events.
If that sporting event ends up being a Mr. Satan fight, Majin Buu might take this. I feel like that's a little bit too specific, though, so I think I'm going to ultimately have to give it to Android 19.
Okay. Again, for prosperity. Established in 1911, this yearly event has the largest single day attendance in sports. And again, remember, this is the, hang on, this is the Thursday, March 13th, 1986 episode of
Mm-hmm.
Jeopardy. So it was the Indy 500.
Yeah,
Who knows if that is?
Android 19 would have taken it.
Who knows if that has changed
He's
since then?
part car, basically.
So I have number 7, Jiren, versus number 10, Dr. Gero. Now, who do I want to win? I kind of want Jiren, I think mostly because I think we've bounced him in like the first round. Like every year. Because
Yeah,
he's kind of
I
a
think
nothing
that's fair.
burger character. And that's for if you don't know, Jiren is basically just like the main antagonist of the Tournament of Power, but he really is just he's not like evil, he really is just like a big gray alien essentially. And Dr. Gero is actually an android version of himself, and he's the one who built all the androids. I think he would win. So I have to go to the tiebreaker. Okay, is this you could tell me if this tiebreaker sounds fair. If not, I'll move on to the next one. It's the 70s.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little unfair because I don't think Jiren was alive in the 70s.
Okay. So then we have to move on to Man in Space.
Oh, now this has interesting implications.
So I am going to take that to mean human in space,
Yeah, probably.
not just space travel. And say that the question will be about a human person traveling through space, and therefore Jiro wins. I do see where that could have been very potentially a pitfall.
Yeah, but you're right. It's most likely going to be a question about human space travel, so makes sense.
And again, we're doing this without the we want to decide these without the questions because the questions are all going to be Earth related, but I still want to read the questions because I think it's fun.
Sure.
This space shuttle, the only one named for a space ship, is the only one not to have flown in space, and that was the Enterprise. What is the Enterprise?
Oh, Star Trek? Yeah, Jiro definitely would have gotten it. Dr. Giro, moving on. Up next, we've got number 2 seed, Cell, and number 15 seed, Garlic Jr. Cell being another one of Giro's creations, this one biological in nature, and he's just an amalgamation of a bunch of different characters' genetic code. He's also, like, absorbs 17 and 18 to attain perfection. And then Garlic Jr. is the guy that got snubbed when Kami originally got the job as protector of Earth, and was really salty about it. Who do I want to win?
By the way, we've got a Dead Zone commentary coming up on our release schedule very soon, so
Keep an eye out for that. Who do I want to win? I want Cell to win, but ultimately I think in actuality, Garlic Jr.'s probably got the edge here. Assuming we can get him out of the dead zone to actually compete. Which I am assuming is the case. And the reason why I think Garlic Jr. would win this is because as far as I understand with Cell, like, he doesn't have any formal education. He doesn't have even Jiro, like, teaching him anything unless there was, like, I take that back. There was probably, like, a brainwashing thing in his tube or something. But like, all of the information, like you said earlier about the androids, a lot of it's going to be very, like, Goku and Z Warrior specific.
Mm-hmm.
And he is biological. He is not a computer. So that's the only information he would have started with. Whereas, at least with Garlic Jr., I'm assuming he's familiar enough with Earth to be in the running for the job of protector of Earth. So I think I'm going to have that tiebreaker.
Elections.
Yeah, definitely going to be Garlic Jr. on that one, I think, because Cell wouldn't even care.
And this one is, of the 4 Republican presidential candidates to lose to FDR, he won the most electoral votes. Who is Thomas Dewey?
Oh, okay.
You know, the guy who defeated Truman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't, that wasn't incorrectly reported or anything.
One of the all-time faux pas.
Yeah, no, that's not significant at all.
Okay, we're moving on to the deities / allies bracket. This is sort of our catch-all where how do you fit? You have to have, like, Piccolo and King Kai in your bracket. You have to. But where do they fit? They're clearly none of the other 3 categories, so this is our deities / allies bracket.
So I've got number 1 seed Beerus versus number 16 seed Oolong. Who do I want to win? I want Oolong to win because I think that would be really funny.
So you want the world to be destroyed?
Yeah, Plus, also, I feel like I would love, like, the visual of, like, that last question, not the tiebreaker necessarily, but, like, the question that he clinches it with being something like super pervy or something like that, just because that would be incredibly on brand for him. But if it's food, it's probably a close competition then. who do I think would actually win? I mean, it's the god of destruction. Like, he's got to have his finger on the pulse of a lot of things to understand what's going on around him. And plus, like, he's got Whis as his second in command, which, even though he probably wouldn't be able to help him during the trivia, I think he would at least try and, like, feed him some information, like, hey, like, study a little bit or something.
Yeah. Oolong also not known for being, like, very smart or well-traveled or
And
any
then,
of those
like,
things.
as soon as you reveal that his first competitor is Beerus, he probably wets himself and concedes. But that's beside the point. So yeah, I'm gonna have to have another tiebreaker.
Word origins.
That's definitely Beerus.
Okay. Moving Beerus on, and the answer: from a medieval occupation, this common English surname is Ferrer in Spanish and Kovacs in Hungarian. What is Smith?
Oh, okay. I
Like
was thinking Farrier at first, but then I was like, no, that's not a common name.
yeah, Ferrer, like ferrous, like iron,
Yeah, no, that makes
and
sense.
therefore blacksmith. So I have number 9 Corin, or number 8 Corin versus number 9 Mr. Popo. Who do I want to win this? Corin. Who do I think would win this though? Mr. Popo is this, like, he knows more than he lets on. He sees more than he lets on. He has faster reflexes than Corin, so he's able to, like, he's going to get the answers out faster. And I don't think Corin has more knowledge than Mr. Popo.
Okay.
Maybe the same amount of knowledge, but not more. And therefore, Popo is able to get the answers out faster.
I could see that.
So that he even almost seems like he's got predictive answers, but really he's just, like, jumping right on the last thing someone says to get the answer out fastest. So he's winning by a hair. So that brings me to the tiebreakers, which is world trade.
Ooh.
And I kind of think I got to go with the same sort of rationale. He's just going to be faster at getting in on the buzzer.
Well, hold on, but the tiebreaker's Final Jeopardy. It's not about how fast you can answer, it's about your wager.
No, the Final Jeopardy
Just kidding.
category is the category, but it's like a lightning round.
Yeah, I get you.
We said that. So I'm moving Mr. Popo on.
Makes sense.
And the answer here was country second only to the U.S. in value of both its exports and imports. What is... Oh my gosh, here's how old this is. What is West Germany?
Holy moly. That is an old one. For our younger listeners, there used to be 2 Germanys. There also used to be 1 Germany, but then there was 2 Germanys, and then there was 1 Germany again. This has been your history lesson. All right, Mr. Popo, moving on. Up next, I've got number 5 seed Nail versus number 12 seed Elder Kai. Nail being a Namekian from planet Namek who is now currently fused with Piccolo, and Elder Kai, who is basically Supreme Kai's not grandpa, but like a similar kind of age difference and relationship, if you will.
Right.
Gotta be honest, I kind of want Elder Kai to win this one. Nothing against Nail. In my brain, I cannot see how an elder god loses to a mortal in terms of knowledge.
Correct. Yeah. So you're moving Elder Kai on?
Because I mean, like you said, I think even if they both knew the answer, I feel like Elder Kai's got something up his sleeve to be able to get that answer out quicker.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have number 4 King Kai versus number 13 Gregory. 2 characters that in our show we'll be talking about fairly soon. But King Kai being the first sort of god of the actual afterlife that Goku ends up meeting and trains him how to use the Spirit Bomb and the Kaioken. And Gregory being a person who, well, a cricket, actually, who lives with King Kai and helps Goku be faster and do some training. Who do I want to win? King Kai. And I also think he's going to win. I think he's, Gregory, sure, he lives with King Kai, but King Kai has that telekinetic, telepathic ability to like look in on things.
Sure.
Whenever he wants. And Gregory has to be, or anyone has to be touching him while he does it. So anytime that Gregory's not been touching King Kai and King Kai's been looking at some part of the universe, he has information Gregory doesn't.
Makes sense.
So I'll move King Kai on to the second round.
I'm starting to realize how busted this bracket is with all these gods in it.
A little bit.
All right, moving on. Number 6, Dende, yet another, I guess, technically god, but not really, versus number 11, Kibito, who is a god, and is the Supreme Kai's right-hand man.
Yeah, he's a vassal.
Who do I want to win? I want Dende to win this. I want him to win this so bad. But I think it's hard for a god of Earth to beat a god of all things in a competition of knowledge.
I will say Kibito not.
Is he not technically a god?
A god of all things. He is like a vassal.
Well, he works for the god of all things. So, yeah. I mean, it's kind of... There's going to be some... The Venn diagram is almost a circle, is basically what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, yeah, I will need a tiebreaker for this one.
Cartoons.
Oh. Dende, I love you. You're probably going to squeak out on this one just because Kibito takes himself way too seriously and would not even ever deign to watch cartoons.
I would agree.
Dende's moving on.
His theme was the only song from a cartoon short ever nominated for a Best Song Oscar. Who is Woody Woodpecker?
You learn something new every day.
All right, I have number 3, Supreme Kai Shin versus number 14, Puar. Now, who do I want to win? Puar. Puar is best boy. Puar has gone up even further, in my opinion, after having watched fight Son Goku, win Son Goku when he was a hand puppet who smoked. Who do I think would win? Potentially Supreme Kai. That one, I could potentially make an argument for Puar because he might be one of the few characters in the entire franchise who has like any amount of self-awareness. But I think Supreme Kai would have the edge, so that takes me to a tiebreaker. And the tiebreaker is because I got to skip the Olympics, I think.
That's fair, I think.
And I got to skip Democrats also.
Wow, they're coming up a lot.
Yeah. That brings me again to pop music as a question.
Do we want to reuse categories or do we want to... I'm fine with reusing it. I want to clarify.
If not, I got to scroll. I got to go for a little bit here and come to engineering. Now, that might change what my answer was. This is where these tiebreakers can get dicey.
This is why I like this particular tiebreaker mechanic. The fact that it's random, I'm loving this.
Because I think if we had gone with pop music, I like that let's try not to use any duplicates, right?
Sure.
The next several were like world leaders, U.S. states, television again, just so. Mm-hmm. So I'm on engineering, and oh boy, that makes me feel like Supreme Kai has a bit of an edge. But, I'm gonna make a different argument here. Puar, as a shapeshifter, has studied structures and has some knowledge of how things come to be and how they are put together. And the Supreme Kai's knowledge base is more spiritual, more esoteric, divine sort of in nature. And so I think Puar is going to get an answer about engineering. I'm going to move Puar on.
Okay. I'm not going to argue against that because I also feel like it'd probably be like an Earth-centered engineering question. And his best buddy was dating Bulma forever, so I'm sure he probably also picked a few things up that way as well. But
if you want the actual question, because it would be Earth-centric, it's country which tried to build a canal across Panama before the U.S. did.
Okay, I kind of want to guess at this one. I want to say France.
What is France?
Yeah, I got it. Anyways, moving on. We've got number 7, Kami, versus number 10, King Yema. This was a tough one for me. Mostly because I like both characters, so it's really hard for me to decide who I would want to win.
Okay.
I kind of want King Yema to win, mostly just because I think it would be like him even showing up for this competition seems like it would be funny. Because the man's so busy, like he doesn't have time for anything. So I kind of want him to win, and I kind of want him to win like on accident, like keeping him away from his job. And like every time he gets a question right, he's like, "No, this is gonna like my work's piling up." As for who would actually win, I think that King Yema being focused so much on his work is the reason why Kami would actually win.
Okay.
So I think I'm gonna need a tiebreaker.
Okay. Is historic names too lopsided? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so, because it would be contextually it would be the history of their own world.
Yeah.
Right. And in this case, I think King Yema actually has the edge because he's literally met every person in history.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy." Kami knows a lot, and he's been around for a while, but he's not been around for all of human history like Yema has.
I agree. I had Kami winning. Again, this is just one of those. Kami seems.
I had Kami winning too. But
Kami seems more learned to me, but I get you. Okay, and then I have number 2 Piccolo versus number 15 Jocko. I want Piccolo to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also going to argue that he does.
Okay.
I think, yes, Jocko has been around. He's traveled through some of the galaxy, but his knowledge base of most of the things that, like, his knowledge base of the afterlife, of Earth, and of planet Namek and the Frieza Force are, like, minimal, actually.
Fair.
So I'm going to move Piccolo on to the second round.
All right.
We're going to take a break here in the episodes, because that's what we did last year. So, will we continue having upsets? Who will reign supreme in this year's Tenkaichi tournament? Find out next time and help us achieve our final forum.
Final Form is written and produced by Tom Gwelly. It is performed by Dan Kinney and Tom Gwelly. Our webmaster is Dan Kinney. Our theme music is provided by YouTube content creator GVG Kid. Want to learn more about the Dragon Ball universe, including concept art, behind-the-scenes interviews, and recommendations from Jelli and Bekinney? Connect with us on social media. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter @FinalForumPod. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you receive your podcasts. And of course, make sure to share it with your friends and family and help us spread the word of the glory of Lord Frieza. The Frieza Force thanks you for your listenership.